Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests for having me here. Today, my project speech is called Reflect on Your Path. This is the penultimate speech that you give after you finish your path. Now, why did I choose this? Why did I choose this title at G Farooq Quadir? Let me tell you a little bit of history. I had a professor who did 2 PhDs. And I asked him, well, most people take a lifetime to do 1 PhD and they're fed up with it. Why did you do 2 PhDs? By the way, he was a very gifted professor. He said, the first PhD I did, I felt I did it very easily. So I needed to really assure myself that, am I really qualified or did I just fluke it through? So I took the second PhD and I did it on a completely different topic. And that's what he found out by that he was qualified. And that was his personal measure. His personal measure was not a test by other people, but his own measure. And that is what I typically want to do. Now, I would like to say I had planned all of these things. But no, I didn't plan at that time. Most of the people who know me that I joined Toastmasters by accident. I had no intention of joining Toastmasters. I joined to give company to my son, who I wanted to become more outgoing, an extrovert, and I asked my friend DTM Faraz, and he pointed me to Toastmasters. So I joined it, and I was not even active for 7-8 months when I was doing my first part. Then slowly they forced me to give an icebreaker and everything. Then I stayed, my son left. Irony of life. Now, when I was doing my first part, I'm typically a corporate person. I'm usually giving business presentations. So I'm a little bit rigid. I don't show too much emotion. And still I have that. I'm working on that. So my first part was, and I wanted to do things just perfectly. So I did my first part. I did plan everything properly. I did my speeches properly. I did them in order, in sequence, okay, even though I was not. And I found out in the middle of my first part that I could mix and match my speeches. I can do speeches at any different places. As I felt, I said, all right. And fortunately, at that time, I was also lucky enough that Toastmasters gave us a free path. All of you remember that? The old people? The old people like me. We got the free path. And for people like us, Indians, free means yeah. So we got that. So I got that free path and started working on that. And I said, okay, what's the difference should I make? I did all my path, most of my projects in that path meticulously. What should I do in my second path? So I said, let me challenge myself. Let me challenge myself to be a little more impromptu and do things that people don't expect. So I made a first speech about myself in my first part. The second part, I made a speech titled The 10% as an Icebreaker. And the 10% was related to how I save my money. I take around 10% and save it for myself. But the most interesting part that I really liked was the second speech. Because by the second part, I realized that the first part speeches are all what you call potential contest speeches, if you develop them rightly. And those are the things that you can develop right. So the second speech that I took for the evaluation feedback was something I tried to do in a funny part. I tried to say, tickle my funny mood. So it was and challenge myself to different things. So I did it something called an evaluator's cheat kit. So that was something like, how do you go through evaluation, and even if you didn't listen to a speech, how you give that evaluation. So that was successful for the first. I was not satisfied. So I gave it again, the second part in an international audience. Not successful. The good thing about that second part of the speech was, I learned about body language. That was the first time I used the Shah Rukh Khan pose. Okay, this side makes me Karan Johar, this side makes me Shah Rukh Khan. Okay? But I got more confident as I proceeded further. I became more confident about my body language. I became a bit of extrovert. Those were the things that I learned. And that is what I want to talk about, the tale of two paths. My first path, whatever it was me as an introvert. The second path was trying to become an extrovert, trying to be outgoing. And this coincided with me taking up district leadership positions. And then you become more confident. You talk with people, you network with people, and you learn from them. You find out that your brain is a sponge. You learn not by only observing. Sometimes you just learn by being there and listening and seeing people how they do things. And that is one of the biggest successes that I found in my second path. That makes you outgoing. You can experiment what you like. You don't have to be truthful. At the end of the day, Toastmasters is about giving speeches. You have projects. Yes, you do your projects, you learn from them, but you're allowed to exaggerate. Do exaggerate, because what does exaggeration do? Exaggeration does not only embellish the story and make it worthwhile, but it also emboldens you. It builds up your confidence. And then you find out that everybody supports you. How well did you do? And that is what really Toastmasters is all about. That's why doing one path is not enough. Now I'm doing my third path. After I complete this one, I'm doing it concurrently. But I'm doing it by experimenting in different things. Another speech that I gave was about Toastmasters mentoring. When you give Toastmasters mentoring, you talk about different mentors. And then in the second part, I gave the speech, and that was related by D.K. Latinder. I gave not about a mentor, but I gave about an ideal protege. Because as the saying goes, you can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. You can mentor people as much as you like, but if the protege does not want to drink, are you going to be a good mentor? If that experiment fails, so you learn from both sides. So that is what the Toastmaster talks about. There's something called a mentee's attitude to things. During that speech, I learned about what a mentee should be like, what a protege should be like to be successfully mentored. You have to be open. You have to expose yourself. You have to trust your mentor. So the two important things that I would like to say to everybody is, like in the tale of two paths, experiment with your paths, do things differently that you did for other people, other paths. Because at the end of the day, Toastmasters is about inventing yourself. And without experimenting, you do not discover the talent that is hidden within you. How many of you felt differently after doing your second path? Did you try different things separately? The third part, you were going to do something differently. I remember in the first part, I took table topics as an active listening project. When I did that project, I learned something about table topics. That made me a better table topic speaker and a table topic master. And those skills, when I transformed, I didn't repeat that same project, but I took table topic master as a role. And that developed me. So everything that you learned before comes back and continues and allows you to develop more and more that you can do for yourself. And that, Toastmasters, is the gift that we all have. You don't set yourself. You don't have to limit yourself by one path. You can always go ahead and reinvent yourself. And that's what life is. Life every day gives us a chance. The past is past. It's over with. It's a knowledge base. You take it for your learning. But the present is where you decide what your future is going to be. And for me, that future was something to change in my character. Am I there? Not yet. Are we there? I don't think so. But we are on the journey, and we are going to learn every time that we progress, every time more. And that is the essence of what I want to say. It's not a tale of two paths. It's a tale of every path that you take. And every step of that path is a journey that you learn from. So fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, when you're given a chance to reinvent yourself, do not back down. Take up the challenge. Believe me, it's worthwhile. And it's not a tale of two cities or tale of two paths. It's a tale about your life. And that is what we want to listen to. Thank you. Back to you.